Michael is with you. Every step, every breath, every moment of doubt, he's whispering, "You've got this. I've got you." And you do, because heaven is guiding you. Always has been, always will be. Asterisk, and so the fear begins to loosen. Not because it magically disappears, but because you start remembering that it doesn't own you. You begin to breathe deeper. You begin to pause before reacting. Start to feel that gentle nudge from within that inner whisper that says, "There's more to this moment than what meets the eye." That whisper is divine. It's how heaven communicates. When your logical mind is too loud to hear the thunder, it's how Michael speaks when you're too tired to pray out loud. That soft intuition, that gut feeling, that moment where you just know, even if you don't know how you know. It's not random. It's guidance. But guidance isn't always about answers. Sometimes it's about alignment. Michael doesn't always show you the full picture because that would rob you of your growth. Instead, he teaches you to walk by inner light, to move when it feels true, to stay when it feels sacred, to trust that the unfolding isn't always comfortable, but it's always on purpose. And this trust it's not built overnight. It's built moment by moment in the small, quiet choices you make when no one's watching. When you choose not to believe the worst about yourself. When you decide to take the next step without knowing where it leads. When you stop replaying your failures and start honoring how far you've come. That's the work of the soul. That's what heaven sees. Not perfection, but progress. Not performance, but presence. And Michael, he celebrates every bit of it. Doesn't judge the days you collapse. Doesn't scold the moments you doubt. He stands by you, sword in hand, saying, "I know it's hard. I know you're tired. But don't stop now. You're closer than you think." You see, there's a sacred timing to everything. The delay you thought was a denial, it was a preparation. Closed door you mourned, it was protection. And that ache in your heart, the one that won't let go? Sometimes that's just heaven stretching you for the size of your calling. Growth often looks like pain before it looks like power and fear. It always gets louder before a breakthrough. Michael wants you to know that what you're walking through now is not punishment times initiation. You're being refined, not rejected, strengthened, not forgotten. In this pressure you're feeling, it's the weight of the wings you're growing. You weren't meant to stay grounded. You were meant to rise, but to rise, you must shed. Shed the lies. The attachments, the identities that no longer fit. And that's scary, yes, but it's also holy. There's sacred ground beneath your shaking. There's purpose in your pause. Don't rush the process. You don't have to hurry up and heal. Just have to be present with what's real. Michael walks beside you not to speed you up, but to slow you down, to help you notice the breath, the beauty, the quiet grace of the moment you're in. Because fear thrives in the future, but peace lives in the now. This moment, right here. This is where heaven meets you, not in the fantasy of someday, not in the illusion of perfection, but in this messy, raw, unfiltered truth of who you are right now. Can you feel that? That's your power returning. That's your soul. Remembering, and every time you choose love over fear, no matter how small the choice, you shift something in the world. You may not see it, but heaven does. You create ripples of light that echo into places you'll never visit, healing others. Just by healing yourself, this is not selfish work. This is sacred work. The more you align with truth, the more others find the courage to do the same. You become a lighthouse without even trying, and Michael Hay fortifies that light. He doesn't want you to burn out. He wants you to burn true, so rest when you need to. Cry when it gets heavy. But don't forget who you are. You are not just a body. You're walking through chaos. You are a soul on assignment, and your mission is not to fix everything. It's to remember the divine within you, even when everything feels broken. Because when you do that, when you choose remembrance over fear, you activate something ancient, something eternal. You begin to walk in rhythm with the divine. You begin to embody heaven's guidance, not just ask for it. That's when the miracles come. That's when synchronicity speeds up. That's when doors open and burdens lift and you find yourself saying, I don't know how, but I know this is right. Michael smiles at that. Because you're not supposed to know the how. You're just supposed to say yes. Yes to the guidance. Yes to the journey. Yes to the light inside you that refuses to go out. Let go of fear. Not because it's wrong to feel afraid, but because it's time to rise beyond it. Heaven is guiding you, and your soul is finally listening. Asterisk the moment you begin to listen, not with your ears, but with your soul, a different kind of clarity arrives. It doesn't scream. It doesn't rush. It moves like light through stained glass, illuminating the places in you that were always holy but long forgotten. That's how heaven speaks. And Michael, with his unwavering presence, walks with you as you rediscover this voice. The one that's always been yours. The one beneath the fear, the pressure, the noise of the world. That inner voice doesn't demand. It reminds. It nudges. It whispers. You already know. Because you do. You've always known when something wasn't for you, even if you stayed longer than you should. You've always felt when your energy was being drained, even if you kept giving. You've always sensed when your heart was being called elsewhere. Even if you silenced the pull, Michael doesn't blame you for those choices. He understands the layers. He sees the fear underneath the people-pleasing, the trauma under the perfectionism, the longing under the quiet suffering. But now he asks something different of you. He asks for your yes, not to the world, not to their expectations, but to yourself, to your own soul's truth. As long as fear is making your decisions, you're living someone else's story. And you didn't come here to be a copy. You came to be divine expression in human form. You came to break patterns, not repeat them. You came to heal bloodlines, not carry them. You came to awaken, not to sleepwalk through a life that doesn't fit your spirit. So yes, the fear will try to convince you it's safer to stay small. But your soul, you're eternal. Self knows better. It's not safety you're longing for. It's freedom. The freedom to be who you really are. The freedom to follow the call, no matter how uncertain the road. The freedom to trust that heaven is not just above you, it's within you. Michael walks before you, clearing the path. But he also walks behind you, shielding you from what you cannot see. He encircles your life with a divine perimeter. And when you truly asked, he steps in to break every agreement you've made with fear. You don't even have to know how to phrase the prayer. All you have to say is, Michael, help me see clearly. Help me choose love over fear. Help me remember who I really am. And he will. You'll notice it in the shift in your energy after you say it. You'll feel it in the sudden clarity that wasn't there before. You'll see it in the conversations that happen, the signs that appear. The way something finally clicks in your heart. You'll feel lighter, not because life became easier, but because you stopped carrying what wasn't yours. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means releasing your grip on the pain so you can hold space for something higher, something sacred, something true. And the truth is, you are more powerful than you've been led to believe. Your energy shifts rooms, your words hold weight, your presence alone heals more than you know. But fear has a way of masking that power. It tells you to dim down so you won't upset others. It tells you to shrink so you'll be loved. It tells you to stay quiet so you won't be judged. Michael says the opposite. He says, shine brighter, speak louder, walk bolder, not to prove anything, but because your light is not just for you. There are people who will only awaken because you had the courage to. People who will remember who they are because they saw you remembering who you are. That's how heaven works. Through connection. Through presence. Through the sacred chain of remembrance that flows from soul to soul. You don't have to save the world. Just be who you are. Fully, freely. Fearless. Faye Michael is reminding you that fear isn't a destination. It's a doorway. When you walk through it, something sacred on the other side awaits. A version of you that no longer negotiates her worth. That no longer asks for permission to exist. That no longer waits to be rescued because she knows she is the rescue. This is your turning point. And it doesn't matter how long you've been afraid, or how many times you've been knocked down. What matters is that you rise again this time, with heaven behind you. You're not walking alone. You never were. The signs have been there, the numbers you keep seeing, the lyrics that move you to tears, the feathers in strange places, the dreams that feel like more than dreams. All of it is Michael. All of it is heaven saying, keep going. You're doing better than you think. So take a deep breath. Let it fill the spaces fear once claimed, and with each exhale, release the stories that no longer serve. You don't have to carry them anymore. You don't have to figure it all out today. You just have to take one step, one breath, one choice in the direction of light. And with that, you'll feel it. That shift, that silent, holy turning of the tide. Fear loses its grip, and love begins to lead. Heaven is guiding you, and your soul is finally free to follow. There's something sacred about the moment you decide you've had enough, not in anger, but in quiet clarity. That still, unwavering inner voice that says, I'm done living from fear. I'm ready for more. That moment doesn't come with fireworks or fanfare. It often arrives in the silence, in the stillness of a breaking heart, or the exhaustion of carrying what was never yours to hold. But that moment is everything. Because in that space, you shift from surviving to remembering, from fighting to surrendering, from asking, why is this happening to me, to knowing this is happening for me. Michael stands beside you in that moment, not as a distant figure of myth or religion, but as a present, breathing force of light that fills the atmosphere. With calm, his sword does not strike out in anger, cuts through illusion, through the webs of fear and conditioning that have kept you tied to false stories for far too long. He's not here to punish. He's here to remind you are not broken. You are breaking open. You are not lost. You're being rerouted. You are not weak for feeling afraid. You're a human, and more than human, you are divine. And when you finally stop resisting the unfolding, when you exhale and release the need to control it all, you create space for something miraculous to move through you. That something is grace. It doesn't need you to be perfect. It just needs you to be willing. Willing to let go of the lies, or willing to stop bargaining with your worth. Willing to trust that even now, even in the discomfort, the questions, the pause, heaven is at work. You've been guided this whole time. Every detour taught you something. Every heartbreak cracked you open for deeper love. Every closed door gave you time to grow stronger. Every silence trained you to listen within. You didn't miss anything. You're not behind. You're not too late. Michael wants you to understand this. Divine timing is never early and never late. It arrives exactly when your soul is ready, not your ego, not your fear, your soul. And right now, your soul is ready. Ready to walk without apology, ready to dream without shrinking, ready to create without permission, ready to live as if heaven itself placed you here on purpose, because it did. You are not here to just pass time. You are here to awaken, to carry light into dark places, to disrupt patterns of fear with the frequency of love. You're not here to escape the world. You're here to transform it. But that transformation begins within. You cannot pour light from a vessel filled with self-doubt and anxiety. So you must begin by tending to your own spirit, not selfishly, but sacredly. Because when you nourish your soul, you naturally nourish others. When you anchor yourself in truth, you become a lighthouse for those still adrift in confusion. Michael teaches this in quiet ways. He nudges you to rest when the world demands productivity. He urges you to speak truth. When silence would be easier, he gently pushes you toward alignment. Even if that means walking away from things that once felt like home. Because he sees the bigger picture. He knows what's on the other side of your letting go. He knows the version of you that emerges when fear no longer dictates the storyline. And that version of you, she's radiant. She doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. She doesn't need to be certain to move forward. She doesn't need to have it all figured out to walk in faith, because she walks with heaven, and heaven walks with her. So let this be your reminder that nothing you've been through was wasted. Every scar, every tear, every dark night of the soul, it all served a purpose. It all shaped you. And now, you stand on the edge of becoming. This is not the end. This is the rising. You are being called higher, not to escape your humanity, but to embrace it with divinity, to become the bridge between heaven and earth, to embody the message that fear is not the final word. Love is. Michael doesn't just want you to know this. He wants you to feel it in your bones, in your breath, your being. So right now, just pause, close your eyes, and imagine his wings wrapping around you, not as fantasy, but as felt truth. Let the weight of fear fall away. Let the noise drop. Let your breath return to its natural rhythm. You don't have to try so hard. You're already held. You're already loved. You're already enough. And from this place, from this sacred stillness, you can begin again. Not as the wounded version of yourself. Not as the one who's always hustling to prove her worth. But as the radiant soul who knows that she is guided, protected, watched over by a force of divine light so vast, so constant, so patient, that fear cannot stand in its presence. This is who you've always been. This is who you're returning. 2. Let go of the rest. Let go of fear. Let go of needing to know. All the answers, heaven is guiding you. One breath at a time. One step at a time. One holy yes at a time. Asterisk. And now you stand in the quiet after the storm. Not because life suddenly became perfect, but because you did something sacred. You stopped giving fear the final say. You stood still when everything told you to run. You listened within when the world shouted without. You chose trust over and over again, even when your hands were shaking. You didn't let go of the light. Michael sees that. Heaven sees that. And now the shift is here. It doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it begins in the subtlest of ways: a moment of peace in the middle of chaos, a decision to rest without guilt, a conversation that brings you back to life. These are the signs that your soul is aligning, that your energy is rising, that you are no longer moving from survival but from sovereignty, because this is who you've become: a soul that knows it's not alone, a being who walks in communion with the divine, a spirit that has been stretched, refined, awakened, and still, somehow soft, still open, still willing to believe in goodness. That takes power, not the kind the world defines, not the loud, forced, ego-driven power. Michael is talking about true power, the power to forgive when bitterness would be easier, the power to speak love into a room filled with tension, the power to be yourself in a world that constantly tells you to be something else, the power to surrender not out of weakness, but out of sacred knowing. Heaven's got this, you see. Fear taught you to grip, to push, to perform, but heaven invites you to flow, to receive, to trust. And trust is not passive. It's active faith. Every time you choose to listen to that divine whisper instead of the noise, every time you pause and feel instead of react and run, every time you open your hands and say, I release what I cannot control, you step deeper into the divine timeline meant for you all along. This is where miracles live, not in the hustle and the alignment. Michael has been preparing you for this, not by making life easy, but by helping you remember your wings in the middle of the fall, by walking with you through fire so you could see you were fireproof all along. You are not the version of yourself who once begged for scraps of love. You are not the one who needed to shrink to stay safe. You are not defined by your lowest moment or your loudest critic. You are a child of light. You are an extension of heaven. You are a walking miracle in motion. And Michael, he rejoices. Not because your journey is over, but because now you're awake. You're seeing yourself clearly, and once you see your own light, you can never fully return to the dark. Yes, you'll still have hard days. You'll still feel fear. You'll still question your path sometimes. That's human. That's sacred. It's part of the journey. But now you know the way back. Back to center. Back to truth. Back to the voice that reminds you. You are safe. You are loved. You are guided. And you'll notice how much more quickly you return. How your recovery time shortens. How your inner compass sharpens. How your faith deepens, not because everything is perfect, but because you've been through the fire. And now you know who walks with you. Michael never left your side. He fought for your clarity when you couldn't see. He shielded your energy when you didn't even know you were under attack. He stood at the edge of your breakdown and whispered, "This is not where your story ends." And it didn't seem, because that's what fear does when it meets. Love, it dissolves. It no longer controls you. You may hear it, but it doesn't own you. You may feel it, but it doesn't freeze you. You may face it. But now, you face it with angels at your back and light in your hands. And now you walk differently. You love differently. You pray differently. Not from desperation, but from devotion. You no longer beg for signs. You become one. You no longer wait for healing. You embody it. You no longer chase purpose. You live it. And this is just the beginning. Heaven is not some faraway place you earn your way into. Heaven is here, now, in the breath, in the choice, in the love you offer, in the courage to rise, in the beauty you notice, the truth you choose. And when you forget what you will, Michael will remind you. When you doubt what you will, he will guide you. When you fall, which you will, he will lift you. Because that's what he does. He walks with those who are willing to rise. And now, you are so let go. Let go of what no longer fits. Let go of who you had to be to survive. Let go of fear, not because it's wrong to feel it, but because it's time to stop letting it decide. You are being led, you are being held, you are being guided by heaven itself. And as Michael watches over you, sword in hand and light in heart, he reminds you one final truth. You were never alone. You were never too far gone. Is your homecoming? There comes a moment, quiet and unannounced, when the soul starts to whisper through the noise of life. It may be in the middle of a sleepless night, when your thoughts spiral and your heart feels heavy. Or perhaps it's during the day, right? In the middle of doing something, routine washing dishes, driving to work, when an unshakable feeling enters you, that something deeper is calling, something you can't ignore anymore. And that's when Archangel Michael speaks. Not with thunder or lightning, not with grand gestures, but with a clarity so profound you can't mistake it. His voice doesn't echo in your ears, it echoes in your soul. A firm yet loving presence, protective, wise, and always here for you. Let go of fear. He says, heaven is guiding you. But how do we let go when the fear feels welded to our bones, when we've been betrayed, wounded, abandoned? How do we loosen our grip on pain that has been our armor? Archangel Michael understands. He sees it all, not just the surface of your life, but the depths you don't speak of. He knows the childhood wounds that shaped your beliefs, the invisible burdens you carry, the prayers you whisper into the dark. And he reminds you that fear is not your identity. It is only the residue of pain unhealed. Michael, in his vast light, comes not to shame your fear, but to liberate you from it. He doesn't demand perfection. He only asks for your willingness to believe that you are more than what you've been through, that something holy is unfolding within you. Even when all you feel is confusion, the human path is messy, tangled, uncertain. But the heavenly path is clear, even when you can't see it. That is the mystery. That is the paradox. You're not meant to figure it all out with your mind. You're meant to surrender to something higher. And surrender doesn't mean giving up. It means handing over the weight that was never yours to carry. It means pausing for long enough to hear the whispers behind the noise. It means calling on Michael, even when you don't know the words to say. Because when you call, he comes always, maybe. You've felt it before, that sudden warmth in your chest when you're on the verge of breaking. The light that enters the room just as you pray. The unexplainable peace that blankets you after a storm of tears. That's him. That's heaven responding. You are never alone. Even when your world feels like it's crumbling. Even when people walk away. Even when nothing makes sense and all you have is breath and a broken heart, heaven is guiding you. But to feel that guidance, you have to quiet the fear. Fear clutters the channel. It drowns out divine clarity. And the truth is, most fear doesn't come from danger. It comes from the stories we tell ourselves. The what-ifs. The I'm not good enoughs. The nothing ever works out for me mantras that run like background music in the mind. Michael comes with a sword of truth, not to harm, but to cut away what is false. His sword severs cords of illusion, attachments to people or patterns that steal your light. He is not gentle with what needs to go, but he is always gentle with you. And when you allow him in truly, let him into the secret places of your pain, begins to clear the path, not just externally, but within. He helps you remember who you are underneath all the masks. And who you are is sacred. You are not your fear, or not your failures. You are not your past. You are a divine soul who chose to be here now, in this body, in this life, for a purpose. And that purpose cannot be fulfilled while fear runs the show, because fear makes you shrink. Fear tells you to play small. Michael Hay tells you to rise. He reminds you that every trial is a refinement. Every delay is a divine redirection. Every heartbreak is a doorway to deeper truth. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is random. And you are never forgotten. Heaven is not a distant realm. It's right here, layered between every moment. It speaks in synchronicities, in intuition, in that deep inner knowing that rises without logic. It speaks in the way your body relaxes when something is true and tightens when something isn't. It speaks through beauty, through dreams, through people who appear at just the right time, but to hear it, to trust it, you have to soften. You have to be willing to lay down your sword. It's not the sword of truth, but the sword of defensiveness. You have to let go of the story that you're all alone in this world, because you're not. You are surrounded by light. You're held in hands that do not shake. You are guided by a love that cannot be measured. And you are protected, not just physically, but energetically, emotionally, spiritually. Michael walks beside you, not just when you pray, but even when you forget how. His presence is encoded in your spirit. You are never without him, and right. Now, he is asking, will you trust me? Will you trust that this storm will pass? That you are safe, even if the ground beneath you is shifting? Will you release the fear? Not all at once, but breath by breath. Will you remember that you were never meant to carry this alone? Heaven is guiding you, even now, especially now. Asterisk so often, fear disguises itself as logic, pretends to be practical. It tells you to be realistic, to not get your hopes up, to keep playing it safe. But what it's really doing is building walls around your heart. It's convincing you to settle for a version of life that doesn't reflect your soul's truth. Michael sees this. He watches how you talk yourself out of blessings. He hears the way you silence your own intuition because you're afraid to be wrong, afraid to look foolish, afraid to want too much. And he reminds you your dreams were not placed inside you as a tease. They are divine instructions. They are sacred blueprints. But to follow those dreams, you must first face the lies that have kept you small. You weren't born to blend in. You weren't born to shrink, to settle, or to apologize for your light. You were born to rise, to awaken, to step into the arena of your divine purpose, and that requires courage. Not the absence of fear, but the willingness to move through it with grace. Michael is the guardian of that courage. He doesn't just protect you from outer forces, he helps you conquer the inner ones. The doubt, the shame, the guilt, the silent wounds that fester in your self-talk. He stands at the door of your soul and says, no more. No more pretending, no more hiding. It's time. Time for what? Time to remember who you were before life taught you to fear. To remember the eternal spark inside you that no trauma, no loss, no mistake can extinguish. To remember that you are not a problem to be fixed, but a light to be revealed. There's a quiet revolution happening within you right now. You may not see it clearly yet, but Michael does. He sees the breaking down as the beginning of your becoming. He sees your restlessness, not as weakness, but as the soul's call for truth. And when you feel lost, that's not failure. It's guidance. Because sometimes you have to be stripped of everything familiar in order to find what's real. Sometimes the path is unclear because the old road can no longer hold the weight of your expansion. So if you're in the in-between, the space where the old has crumbled, but the new hasn't arrived, know this. You are exactly where you're meant to be. Let Michael anchor you in that truth. Let him wrap his wings around your fear until it softens. Let him place his hand on your chest and awaken the strength you forgot you had. Not the strength to push harder or pretend everything's fine, but the strength to be still, to be honest, to be open. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is admit you're tired, admit you're scared, admit you don't know what's next. And in that honesty, the healing begins. Because Michael can't fill a cup that's already pretending to be full. He needs your surrender. He needs your willingness to be emptied of what no longer serves you. He needs your yes not to fear, but to faith. Faith that even if the path is unclear, you are still moving forward. Faith that even if you can't see the entire map, the next step will be revealed. Faith that even if you feel weak, heaven is strong within you. This is not blind faith, it's soul memory. Deep down, beneath the layers of fear and conditioning, you already know that you are protected, that your life has purpose, that something far greater is orchestrating your path. And Michael, he is the bridge between that knowing and your everyday reality. He is the warrior who clears the fog, the light that cuts through confusion, the presence that speaks not just to your mind, but to your bones. He reminds you, in ways both subtle and profound, that you are not defined by what scares you, but by how you rise in the face of it. So rise, not in perfection, not in certainty, but in faith. Rise even with trembling hands. Rise even if your voice shakes. Rise even if you don't feel ready. Because readiness is not a feeling, it's a choice. Heaven backs every brave choice made in alignment with your soul. Fear will say, what if you fail? Michael says, what if you fly? Fear will say, you're too much. Michael says, you are exactly enough. Fear will say, you're alone. Michael says, you are surrounded. Right now, as you listen, Michael is placing a shield of light around you. Feel it. It's not imagination, it's real. He's reinforcing your energy field, strengthening your aura, reminding you that you are sovereign. That no fear, no negativity, no darkness has the right to invade your light. But you have to claim it. You have to walk like you are. It's protected. Speak like you are guided. Dream like you are unstoppable. This is the shift. When you stop waiting for life to feel safe before you live it fully, when you stop waiting for permission and give it to yourself, when you look fear in the eye and say, you don't get to lead anymore,